Just finished episode 6, season 3 of House of the Dragon. An incredible show, by the way. Just one, critique of the story so far. Rhaenyra is doing a horrible job as queen, and it's not because, she's a woman, because she's a queen. She clearly needs to read the 48 Laws of Power. I say that somewhat in jest, but if you haven't read the 48 Laws of Power, read the 48 Laws of Power. I think for now it's still my favorite book, although it may have gone down to 2 or 3 because of the series of books that I'm reading by Friedrich Nietzsche. But yeah, I finished the 48 Laws of Power over 20 times, literally, right? The first time I finished the 48 Laws of Power, I read it in rehab, and then I would read it every now and then after that. And every time I read it, like, my life would get better and better. And to the point where, like, I got into restaurant management because, it was an experience that I definitely needed. I used the tenets of the 48 Laws of Power, and basically I was like, okay, I did that. I did a lot of what was said in that book, and I got to manage. Yeah, it did work. Thing is, like, my destiny wasn't restaurant management. So anyway, I digress. House of the Dragon, great work. I'm about 34 hours into A Dance with Dragons, which is the 5th and final book of A Song of Ice and Fire. It's a 45-hour audiobook. I'm in hour 34. And I go back and forth from books to books, right? Like, I just started William Shirer's The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, which is just fascinating, especially with the narrator that I have. I'll play it back at about 1.5 speed because it keeps my attention that way. But I just love beauty, artwork, history, As soon as I'm done with A Dance with Dragons, I'm going to get into Fire and Blood and then A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. George R.R. Martin, he created something great. I think about how much time and effort. I mean, I haven't really watched that many George R.R. Martin interviews, but I know enough. And from reading the book series, it'll be twice now, that his whole world making, right? He created this entire map. The Stepstones, Essos, Westeros, the Wall, the North, just this awesome map. And he just created these characters. And if I had a chance to talk to George R.R. Martin, maybe I will one day, especially if I gain some traction as a writer, right? But I want to know how he came up with all those names, right? Corlys, Valerian, Rhaenyra, Targaryen, Daenerys, Baratheon, just these names are just incredible. And I just think about what mastery he has as a writer to create such a compelling narrative, right? Yeah, you can say what you want about the producers. So far, they're doing a damn good job in House of the Dragon, and the much rightfully so maligned later seasons of Game of Thrones. I'm gonna keep it at season 8. Season 8 could be totally scrapped. Season 7 still is good for me. I've literally watched Game of Thrones from start to finish one time. But I've watched Game of Thrones from start to the bells about 8 times now since Corona. That's crazy. The first time I watched Game of Thrones was as soon as we went on lockdown. I got an HBO Max pass and binge watched it the whole week. And I've since watched Game of Thrones about 7-8 times, but not to finish. I cut it off at about the bells. The goodbyes are necessary. Arya's goodbye to Sandor, that's a good one. Jaime and Cersei dying in each other's arms. They were born into this world together, and they died in each other's arms. There's something romantic about that. Yeah, twincest is disgusting. I get it. But it's a fictional story. And if anything, Jaime's love for Cersei, like, it was inspiring. It was inspiring to me. But it was very much like very passionate, like Latin lover vibes, right? I love Jaime's character. So yeah, that's the history of the United States of Latin America. It's written from the perspective of a history book written in the year 2167. Gustavo Calderon is the pen name of my fictional history writer. And the prequel series takes place right now in this current timeline that we're living. Everything is real, or historically accurate, I should say. It's just the future the future part is the part that I change, right? I create an entirely new universe, an entirely new world, one in which humanity is able to embrace simulation theory plus the adaptive expansive philosophy, therefore creating a solution to the meta crisis, which includes winning the culture war and creating a post-racial society. And I will show this in a fictional setting, right? Through writing and through a film series, how humanity can, in fact, attain a higher level of being through an evolution of the human consciousness. So the film series that takes place like now, and it'll be largely around the life of Armando Cienfuegos, legendary founder of the DCE, Departamento de Contrainteligencia Encubierta, a figure who was created from my shadow, who's fighting the drug wars right now in this current timeline, eventually gaining control over 90% of the illicit drug trade in Latin America, converting those billions and billions and billions, essentially endless reproducing funds, into infrastructure, into military intelligence capabilities of the DCE before it is formed, right? Infrastructure, investing heavily in industry, renewable industry, and just these incredible amounts of funds that he liberates will be used to build up a nascent United States of Latin America that will become the next dominant world power. And I just want to put that out there in the world, because when you watch a show like Game of Thrones, when you read the book series, I can't wait for House of the Dragon. I'm sorry, Fire and Blood, and I can't wait to get into Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I've got literally 11 other audiobooks going. There's a reason why I can't just finish Dance with Dragons just like that, because I literally have 11 other audiobooks that I'm going back and forth from. And so yeah, when you create something of beauty, artistic beauty, like it stays out there in the world. And this is what we don't emphasize enough, right? Everything is promoted to, everything is geared to make everything easy. Now AI thinks for us now, right? So like there's no creative drive in the human to be great anymore. And this is something that's bad. Like, I saw a video on YouTube about how kids can't read. Kids can't read. Kids can't pay attention anymore. They have no attention, no focus, no cognitive, decreasing cognitive ability, right? And more so that cognitive ability is being hijacked, right? Through social media, and that attention span is decreasing, and it is focusing more and more on garbage. And where's the impetus to create greatness, right? True artistic beauty and greatness. That's diminishing. So I really want to put my works out there into the world. And yeah, I'm going to get on it. And House of the Dragon's awesome. Game of Thrones is awesome. Shout out to George R.R. Martin. Hopefully I get to meet this man one day. And yeah, George, as soon as I'm done with Dance with Dragons, I'll finish your other two books. Maybe we'll talk someday.